So good morning, good day everyone. So today we'll be discussing about the lesson for function and philosophical perspective on art. So for the introduction, um, Aristotle, a Greek philosopher, uh, claimed that every particular substance in the world has an end, telos in Greek, which translates into purpose. So si Aristotle is kanang a Greek philosopher, and I think halos kita naman siguro tanan kanang naay knowledge about sa iyaha or kanang nakabalo na kinsa na siya. So ang context niya diri is ang ginapasabot is everything in this world has an end. Murag nga ana ba? Unya ang kanang end, ang katumbas niya sa Greek na word is telos, which can also mean purpose. So ang second idea diri is this telos according to Aristotle is intricately linked with function. For a thing to reach its purpose, it also has to fulfill its function. So ang telos is linked sa function. Ang purpose link sa function. So giingon diri for a thing to reach its purpose, it also has to fulfill its function. So kanang dili nimo maabot ang imong purpose if dili pa nimo at first ma-fulfill imong function. Og ang last concept there is man in Aristotle's view of reality is bound to achieve a life fulfillment and happiness, or in Greek it's called eudaimonia. However, happiness, the supposed end of a man, is linked with his function, which is being rational. So ang purpose og ang function is different. Most of the time siguro no, ma-interchange nato na sila, like almost the same lang silang meaning, pero different din na siya og meaning. Kay ang pasabot sa purpose is the reason for an object or action to exist. So ang purpose ngano na siya nag-exist, ug ang function is the specific or task that an object or an action is designed to achieve. Kanang burag mao to siya ang action. So maghatag og example. Ang example is kitchen knife. So unsay purpose sa kitchen knife? To make our food ay for us to eat our food easier, since ang function niya is to cut food. So bale para ma-achieve niya yung purpose na for us to make the food easier to eat, ang function niya is ginakat niya ang food into smaller pieces. So pwede ma-change ang function, pero ang purpose sa kabutang is magstay lang siya the same. Like example, kitchen knife Japon. Kung ang kanang kitchen knife gamiton nimo siya sa carving, so nag-change iyang function into carving something. Pero ang purpose nganong naay kitchen knife is mo tong to make our food easier to eat. So bale mao lang to siya for the introduction.
Okay, so now let's move on to the abstraction of our topic, which is the function and the philosophical perspective of art. So, when someone speaks function, he or she is practically talking about the use of an object, right? So, in relation of our SS123 subject, let me ask you a question. For you, what art is for? Anyone? Any ideas lang? Okay, so wala. Okay, ako na lang. Okay, so kita man jud no is naman jud tay mga lain-lain nga mga perception, mga perspective kung unsa ang art para sa atoa, unsay purpose ana niya or function ana niya. It can be uplift someone, it can be provoke, to entertain, and to educate someone. So, parehas lang po na sa ato ano, 'di ba usahay makapangutanan ta sa atong kaugalingon nga unsa di purpose sa ako, unsa di purpose sa ako ang self nganong naamang ko ani nga position, yung naamang ko ani nabutang mga ingon ana. So pag moingon tag function, ang una jud nga mosulod sa atwa is unsa ang gamit ana niya nga butang or unsa ang purpose ana niya nga butang. Okay, so next Raf. So, when it comes to function, syempre pag moingon tag art is naay different forms. So, kato nga mga different forms is naay mga each naay mga natatanging function. For example, ballpen. Unsa may function sa ballpen, di ba, pangsulat. So, kung moingon mo pangsulat man pud ang lapis, yes, pangsulat ang lapis, pero ang ballpen is pansulat siya nga dili na pwedeng ma-erase unless kung imuha siyang butangan og white ink. So, ing ana na siya. So, nadyo ubang forms nga mas functional jud siya kaysa sa uban. For example, ang best example ani niya is ang architecture. Mas functional, makaingon ta nga functional ang architecture is because for safety purposes, shelter, dira na tumakon ato mga businesses, and best example aning architecture is the Roman aqueducts. Next, Raf. So, Roman aqueducts. So, the arches support themselves in a colonnade o ginagamit po ni siya to transport a network of water channels sa tanang ancient Rome. Siya ang nagasupplied og fresh water, clean water for bath, fountains, and pati mainom nga tubig for ordinary citizens sa katong nagpuyo atong adito sa Rome. So, the U-shape or the arches diri nga inyong makita is not only a design. Gituyo na siya kay para mo support sa walls unya dili pud niya ma-block ang mga water. So, why 'di ba? Makita nato ni siya sa ato ang mga atong mga previous nga lesson sa kasaysayan ba nato nga subject mga ingon ana is naagi hapon siya hantud dron. So nganong naagi hapon na siya hantud dron sa Rome? It's because it's made of a mixture of stone, brick, and volcanic cement na ginatawag nga puzzolana. Next wrap. So on the other hand, ang painting ug ang literature is dili nato siya mapariha sa mga practical na uban nga mga arts. Kung ato siyang tan-awon ug ang ato ug kung atong hunahunahon pag-ayo ang paintings ug mga literature like poem or novels is naka-focus lang siya sa pansarili. Dili na di bali dili siya maka-benefit sa tanan. Namo ko'y ubang taon no nga dili kayo hilig og kanang mga poem, mga novels nga ingon anat. Unlike sa architecture nga maka-benefit jud siya tanan like bisan asa ta moadto na mga infrastructures kanang atong balay nga na atong mga kanang mga shelter sa kanang mga animals. So, but bisan pag ingon ana is still the painting literature gives us an idea on how passionate and talented the people are. So that's all.
Function of first, personal function of art means that its function depends on the person, the artist of the art. Ang function of art kay naga-base ni siya sa painter POV na nagabuhat sa art. Ang personal function is kanang gina-express na tong feeling through art like kanang gratification sa ana example kanang they might also or instead while communicate as to the viewer. So, ginagamit nila ang art as communication para mag magbuhat sila og something kung sa tuang ang history kung sa first sem na ang art igug message sa mo or kung naa ba jud. Number two, social functions of art. Art is considered to have a social function if and when it addresses a particular collective interest as opposed to personal interest. Ang kaning social function sa art is kan is complicated yun ni siya or kanang dili ko ingon na complicated, medyo ano siya ba, medyo ginagamit siya in sometimes like in sensitive ways. Kana kan ni siya experience sa kanya kaning no kaning function kay naga-evolve po ni siya sa revolve something sa politics uh, ko guys. Sige na. Ang kaning physical art like atong ato ang gi active to craft sa mga sa craft sa mga crafter something that example bangko katong gi example ni Kim ano like bayong katong gi example nako ing ana nag ano function of art sa kanang mga butang nga naay physical purpose. Other functions of art is music and sculptures. So, ang makabalo mo jud tanon na ang music is everywhere and usahay pod na we can communicate through music. And music is a form of entertainment and it allows us to disconnect away from where we are. And for the sculptures, commemoration of important personage in our society. May ngana. For example, katong Monument Rizal, ang purpose ato is para makabalo ang Philippines or ang mga Filipino people na sa ating history. Like, katong sculpture ni Rizal monument is kanang nag-stand as is a sacrifice. Like, iba na, something, mo to siya. Then, mm, another form that form of- that the multiple functions is architecture. In fact, art po. So yeah, katong giingon ni Lorca ni April nga ato siya atong about sa architecture. Next Raf. Does art is always have to be functional? Kamo sa inyong pagsabot kanang kanang budget pero mean like always ang art. So tubag-tubag siguro mo. So go ako na lang. Yes, ang art kay very functional dyan na siya. The function of art is subjective but nonetheless, art will always function we are. As art, the objects not considered as art anymore. Basta ang kanang tanan na ay purpose, kanang tanan butang nga na ay purpose, kay art kanang naa siya function ba gina-consider na siya as art. And that's all. Thank you.
Once again, good day everyone. So let's proceed to philosophical perspective on arts. So what does Plato and his student Aristotle think of art? So before we proceed to these two philosophical perspective of art, the art as an imitation and as a representation, let's watch a video muna on how these things should be considered and how their theory differ from each other. Next, Raf. Excuse me, Raf. Wala yung tingog. So, excuse me everyone, madungog ba ito ninyo nga video? Excuse me, naay tao. Madungog kayo nga video.
Dili.
Dili
Wala
jud.
ko'y nadungog.
Dili siya matungog.
Okay, so ako na lang i-explain. Ay, sorry no. Wala na. Sorry sa wala ang dungog. So, sa video ganiya nagi-play ni Rafi is it concludes the Republic of Plato, which is his book. Then which involves na ang kalibutan is divided into two realms, the visible ug ang intelligible. So ang visible, which is ginagamit nato ato ang sense of seeing sa art. Then the intelligible one is ginagamit nato siya what we do in our world or an art itself, dapat i-include nato ang ato ang mind consciousness. So sa concept of Plato nga example ni Plato is ang couch. So para sa iya ang couch is naa siya'y method. So one is mag-prepare kag mga materials na pahimuon ang couch, then the the people the people involved there na mag-work ana para mahimo na siyang couch jud na couch na pwede malingkuran o pwede mahigdaan like that. So sa iyaha is dili siya ganahan sa mga artisan, mga poets kay murag dili good, unbelievable as the word an imitation. It is an art as an imitation of an imitation. So sa iyaha sa iyahang concept nga ang couch naghimo is the purpose of that is maglingkod ng tao. So once ang painter nga magpaint ana nga couch is ang nagapasut ana nga wala gidrawing na niya pero walay purpose, wala siya kabalo unsa nga materials nga needed, dili kompleto iyang concept pero na gidrawing ra niya. So wala gapoy inungdan. Next Raf. So art as a representation of emotions. Describes art by saying that in the appreciation of art, the viewer receives a certain cognitive value from the experience. So Kang Plato man jud is iya man yung gina-propose ang world of ideals, which is lahat ay tama at lahat ay totoo. So an example of this is if you are watching a horror series or movie like Stranger Things, na kung saan makikita natin na may mga monsters and other scary creatures, and with that thing you can feel fear or scared. And if that series is good, the production itself, it made you believe that these scary things are around us and part of you, but it is not. So we are gullible in that part because the existence of an imitation is something that can feel true but hindi. And the point is, we are bound to do crazy things for something na talagang wala naman, for something that is not actually there. So in this theory, works of art are at best entertainment and at worst a dangerous delusion. So ang functions mo sa art is mag-entertain, mag-perceive og informations like cognitive value, which nagapossess siya kanang mind consciousness, kanang participation sa atong learning. So if makita na to nga movie nga very reality jud na magalibol sa tong self nga ala tinuod ni siya no, pero like kanang UFO, magtanong mo kuan alien about UFO, then nakita naman sa mga YouTube nga na aday mga alien nga ninaog diri sa Earth, then murag edited siya pero ma-feel nimo nga ala tinuod na katungod sa mga informations na naasa to all around us because media is very kuan siya kanang relevant. So next Raf. So art as disinterested judgment. Ay balik sa good Raf.
Ay, once again, good day everyone. I am Cyberella A. Vargas, and I am one of the reporter who's going to discuss the other philosophical perspective in arts. Aside from what Mr. Jun Almeros mentioned earlier, first, the art as an imitation by Plato, second, art as a representation by Aristotle. And now, I will be going to discuss to you the art as a disinterested judgment. So basically, a word judgment is very familiar word to us, right? We Filipinos, I am not generalizing it, but I think dominant of us, not only Filipinos, but we as a human, we tend to judge. We tend to judge people. We tend to judge other people's work, especially arts. sometimes makaana kita sa tong classmate, di ba nga, hala, kapangit ba anang drawing nga? But you know what? According to Immanuel Kant, in his Critique of Judgment, consider the judgment of beauty the cornerstone of art as a something that can be universal despite its subjectivity. Kant also recognized that judgment of beauty is subjective, which is actually true. That is why it is disinterested judgment, because, as Kant said, art is subjective. We have our own likes and dislikes. Natay mga ganahan o mga dili ganahan. But you know what? If we tend to critique other people's works or arts, we need to critique it constructively. Dili kay mo nginta nga, huy, pangit kay mong drawing. Hala, dapat dili nga na ha. It should be what? For example, ingunani dapat siya pag-state. You know what? I saw your dedication and on how you are passionate doing your art as a painter, but there are some points that needs to be improved. First, you need to blend your color well, and aside from that one, make use of chu-chu-chu-chu. Ganon. It should be constructive criticism. However, according to Kant, even subjective judgments are based on some universal criterion for the said judgment. That's why we have a criteria for judging. That's why every pageant or every competition, there is what we call criteria for judging. Because every one of us has actually have our own interpretation of art. For example, just to some, she is beautiful, might be someone is ugly. Pero sa ako, gwapan ko na niya, pero sa ang uban, dili gwapan niya. And then in some culture as well, every people is unique and every culture is unique. And that's the thing. Therefore, they have their own criteria for what beauty is or how they perceive beauty. And next, we have art as a communication of emotion. According to Leo Tolstoy, art plays a huge role in communication to its audience's emotions that the artist previously experienced. And in the same that language communicates information to their people, art communicates emotions. So, if you're watching interviews of some artists or singers or composers like Taylor Swift, Olivia Rodrigo, and etc., they ask on how they were able to compose their songs. Sometimes they said that they just had a breakup or they just had a very sad emotion. It appeals really into our emotions. It communicates the emotion of the artist to its audiences, just like the composers of the song or the singer of the song to its listener. The artists are letting us feel his emotion. If he is sad through his artwork, we also felt sad. If he's happy through his artwork or masterpiece, we also felt happy at the same time. Okay, so that is art as a communication of emotion. So again, we have our philosophical perspective in arts. First, art as an imitation, we have Plato. Second, art as a representation, we have Aristotle. And third, art as a disinterested judgment, we have Kant. And lastly, art as a communication of emotion, we have Tolstoy. That would be all. Thank you.
So, by the way, before our start, I love how you, Sai, show the world, the universe of how confidently beautiful you are with the heart. Chara. Okay, so by the way, good afternoon, everyone. Now let's go to the summary of today's topic. So, art has remained relevant in our daily lives because most of it has played some form of function for months, as discussed earlier by Aljay Monterala. Since the dawn of the civilization, art has been the forefront of giving color to man's existence. So kung wala ang art, our life would be very bland, uninteresting, boring, and colorless. Um, And since the different functions of art may be classified as either personal, social, or physical, an art's function is personal if it depends on the artist himself or sometimes still the audience of the art. There is a social function in art if and when it has a particular social function, when it addresses a collective need of a group of people. Finally, physical function has something to do with direct, tangible uses of art. So this, not all product of art have function. This should not disqualify them as art though. So kahit na walang function, like useful merits yung art, as long as it means something, it signifies something, it express something, so it's art siya. And it is important to note that some thinkers in history, art may serve either imitation, representation, a disinterested judgment, or simply a communication of emotion, as well as discussed by June and Cybrella. And I just want to remind everyone that the aim of art is not to represent the outward appearance of things, but their inward significance, and that the art of appreciation begins with self appreciation. And this is the report of Grufty. Thank you, everyone, for listening.